This week, my brother is joining me to talk about his journey in gaming. This is the Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
This is a song I wrote about the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. Good Game, Bad Game podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Good Game, Bad Game podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, and unfortunately, unable to join us this week is my normal co host, Mike, because he lost power. And so, after a bit of a scrambling when I found this out, I texted my dear brother, who has been on the show once, right?
Yeah, one time to talk about Pokemon Sword and Shield.
To talk about Sword and Shield?
Was it Sword and Shield or was it Legends Arceus?
Oh my god, I was gonna say. I think it was
Might have been like
Arceus.
yeah, I think it might have been like in between.
I think it was
Like it might
Arceus.
have been about the announcement.
Yeah. Whew. That was scary for a second. I don't even think we were doing the podcast when Sword and Shield came out. Anyway, joining me is my brother Brock. Brock, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to have this conversation. I've been looking forward to kind of talking about it because I was actually talking to Mel, who is my wife. Humble brag. Gamers can get married. Um, no, I was talking to her, and I thought this conversation would be kind of cool because my gaming journey obviously is very much coincided with yours,
hmm
and it's definitely going to be like a nice nostalgia kick too. I think to like some of the video games we played growing up.
Yeah, definitely. Um, kind of had the same thought. Like, obviously, because we grew up in the same house, our gaming trends and stuff like that had a ton of overlap. Um, so yeah, it is going to serve as like a trip down memory lane. In some ways, I'm kind of happy Mike's not here. I'm kind of happy it's just the two of us.
Yeah,
So I know you are an avid listener. You know how this type of episode works, but in case somebody is listening for the first time, basically when we do these journey into games, Mike and I have a guest join us to kind of just talk about, I mean, it's all in the name, to talk about how their gaming trends and stuff like that changed over the years. We kind of do like we ask a question, the guest provides an answer, and then we kind of just snowball from there. And
Hmm.
then we get to my favorite moment, which is the rapid fire questions towards the end, which, putting somebody on the spot, forcing them to answer a question, in a quick manner, and then being able to kind of like go back and discuss why somebody may have given the answer that they did. So yeah, without further ado, Brock, are you ready?
yeah. I actually have the hot wings in front of me too, so I'm ready.
Okay.
Should we start with the first one, right?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, just little, little humor. You know, it's
Yes.
funny.
Yes. Uh,
People laugh.
yeah. Do you want me to pause so everybody has a chance to laugh before I ask the first question, or?
No, that's unnatural. You know, let's just get into it.
Sure. Okay, I can cut that question out too. All right. First question is more of a statement, more of a demand. If you could give us a high level view of your gaming story, and to kind of like push that along, maybe like why do you game, how do you normally game, and then how have your gaming patterns maybe changed, through the years.
That's a very like broad question. Um, so I think like thinking back to childhood, video games have always been around in the house. In fact, I think playing video games, and I'm actually using air quotes when I say playing video games because I think my first experience playing video games is sitting next to dad while he was playing the NES and him giving me the second controller while he was playing a single player game. Um, I strictly remember playing Mega Man with dad, but you can't play two players in Mega Man. You couldn't play it. It was a one-player game, and I would be the bad guys. And every now and then, I guess I impeded his progress in the level. But yeah, that was kind of the first introduction to video games, and then playing, the original Super Mario Bros. Some of the original Legend of Zelda games. Um, I well, I'll get to another story with Dad maybe a little later as I go through and like kind of talk about my journey. But all that culminating up to getting my first game system, which was I don't know if you call it a game, but Game Boy Color was my
Hmm.
first like video game system. And with my Game Boy, I got a beautiful game called Pokemon Yellow. I mean, I don't think there is a game that is like more inspirational to like my video game library now than Pokemon Yellow. Like it is still a franchise that I frustratingly adore to this day. Not necessarily like the best quality games all the time, but it's just a concept that I keep going back to.
Hmm.
And honestly, it's an iteration that I don't think any other game has like perfected. The combination of like the battle system as well as like the collection aspect and just like the design of the monsters. Like you look at something and if it's a Pokemon, you're like, that's a Pokemon.
Hmm.
And I think that kind of holds true. You know, people will sometimes complain about Pokemon and being like, well, that looks like a Digimon, but I think through and through, like there is a certain look that Pokemon have and they've perfected. And
Hmm.
that was like the first like video game that was mine. And I remember not being very good at it. Um, and dad helping me through like a lot of it, like getting to certain points and being like, I don't know how to do this. Could you do this, Dad? And so dad in turn got introduced to Pokemon Yellow quite a bit and still remembers a lot of like the original 151 Pokemon. Um, and so I think like going from that and then just getting different Game Boy games and then moving on to my first like actual console that you actually hooked up to a TV was the um, PlayStation, the original PlayStation, and that introduced another game that I think shapes my gaming library today, and that was getting Madden. I think maybe 2001 with I think Eddie George was on the cover. Um, I think.
I'm trying
Um,
to think if I actually
yeah,
might
I
have
think
it
it's
over
Eddie.
on my bookshelf
Yeah,
if
don't
it's the
don't
same
quote,
one.
don't at me, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Eddie George. Yeah, and you know, as far as the types of games that I play now, sports games are a huge part of it. Now, I really don't play Madden anymore. And actually, when I say sports games, it's strictly NBA 2K. Um, but yeah, I mean, Madden was a game I loved growing up and had gotten year after year after year, and then that
Hmm.
led into getting NBA Live, MVP baseball, uh, and then jumping to like the more modern iterations of those games, which are I guess MLB The Show is now kind of your flagship baseball um, game, and NBA 2K being the basketball one.
Hmm.
And so it is interesting to think, the games I play now and what it predominantly looks like. It actually really hasn't changed that much from when I was younger, as far as what I play on console. Um,
It's really interesting too. Like that you like the way you really set that up is it really holds true. Like all the games that you played initially that really were the like flagship games that got you or like yeah shaped your earliest gaming patterns now are still like they still hold true, god, like
yeah,
25 years later. That's nuts.
yeah. And it was funny because I think it was your last episode, or maybe two episodes ago. You and Mike were talking. It was the end of year episode, and Mike was talking about the game that he played the most and he was talking about Madden, and he had like 260 some hours, and how he was frustrated because he would just play Madden.
Hmm.
And I'm pretty sure I have like 400 and some hours into 2K, and it is also last year's iteration of NBA 2K. It is not the new one.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's just like the franchise mode. Um, like just going like I understand the financial structure of the NBA because of playing 2K and how it works and why certain teams can't sign certain players but can sign other players and just from playing franchise modes over and over again in NBA 2K. So yeah, I mean, looking back to my early years of gaming, that definitely was, you know, it definitely shapes exactly the games I play today. I still predominantly play Pokemon. I look forward to those games whenever they come out. And I play NBA 2K now because I was introduced to sports games at such a young age, an early age, and enjoyed it. Um, I think like also gaming, like going back, like there's just some other games that I just quickly like to shout out because I think, and I think you'll agree with me on some of these. Backyard baseball,
Oh yeah.
like the amount of hours we put into the backyard sports franchise in general. Like just, I have fond memories of playing through seasons together on backyard baseball on the GameCube,
Hmm.
and I don't even know if that's not even like a popular iteration of backyard baseball. I don't know.
Right.
They probably sold one copy or two copies, and it may have been us buying it two times. Um, I also think back to like that Yu-Gi-Oh game we played on GameCube,
Hmm.
uh, the False-Bound Kingdom. Like so many times, just you and I sitting and playing through that game, like going through it several times. Like just so many hours put into that game, which like honestly, that game had a story that was maybe took like 15 hours to beat, if that. And we got so much replay value out of it.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, like I think that's definitely been like probably a lot of the inspiration, I think. And then just like so a lot of the staple Nintendo games, like the Mario Party games, the Mario Kart games. Even to this day, I play those. Now Mel plays them with me, so we'll play Mario Kart together. We'll play Mario Party, and then even uh, most recently Super Mario Wonder. So
Super.
I mean, as far as like the different inspirations, yeah, those all definitely played a factor in my game library now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think it's so funny because even I guess technically outside of like uh, Falsebound Kingdom and Backyard Baseball, but calling out the three Mario games that you called out too, like those are all games that have been like just franchises that just every now and again get like another new um, release, a new addition to it, right? And so it's like those just core games that are just so easy to go back to, and like when a new iteration comes out, it's like you pick it up and have the muscle memory and everything like that. And it's just
Yeah,
it's just funny to see that that's how like your library, and I would imagine like most people's libraries are actually probably built that way if they take a step back and like try and take like a holistic view of it.
yeah, and the muscle memory. It's also like just like the instant reaction to purchasing it when it comes out. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, a new Mario Kart game. Well, pre-order. It's going to deliver here on the day it comes out. The Mario Party games and the Pokemon games. It's just like as soon as it's announced, pre-order it because I know I'm getting it
Right, it's
and
like
I
an
know I'm going
easy
to enjoy it.
decision.
Yeah,
No, that's
and
great.
then I think the other thing that I think shapes my game library now is um, games being able to be played like on a mobile phone. Because I think like some things like the DS, I always really enjoyed the DS and the 3DS. And I think it's like the convenience factor. I think it's why I'm very partial to the Switch still.
Hmm.
Um, there is just kind of like a convenience factor and a it's almost this might sound weird, but just I guess like sharing a household with someone who's not as into video games as I am, there is an out of the way aspect to being able to play games in that way, where I can kind of do my thing without impeding on you know her wanting to like watch TV or do something else.
Hmm.
So there's definitely like a convenience aspect. So yeah, mobile games are big. I play a lot of Hearthstone. I shudder to even look at how many hours I put into that game. Um, just because it's a nice like to just be able to pick up my phone and if I have some downtime to play a round of Hearthstone.
Yeah. What about like you were really big into like Marvel Snap when that first came out, right? Do you still play that?
I don't. I played that for like maybe a few weeks. I think like the core games. I mean, another one, Clash Royale. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
but I'm you have to remember this because we got to add into it too. The OG mobile game that we played was that I can remember was Dungeon Boss.
Hmm.
Like that was like the first like mobile game that I think I like played and like really invested like time in and actually even money into the first like gotcha game I guess that you could or is it gotcha or whatever or
Hmm.
microtransactions or whatever yeah that I played and so yeah and then I just remember dad after you and I stopping to play he's like oh you get me into these games and then you guys stop playing and so I'd be interested for him to like talk like for him to talk about that too because I would think like he probably shares some of that same vein where like gaming on your phone is just it's so convenient
Hmm.
and there's a huge library of games that are available and I think it's like a really underrated gaming medium.
Yeah, and it's one that's looking to grow too. It's really funny that you brought up dad because the last time I was with dad, I noticed he was playing one of those like township games, like effectively like Farmville, I think. Not to put him completely on
Yeah,
blast, but it was just like it's like you said, like it's like one of those things where it's like it's just easy to go back to. You know, you can just like kill a little bit of downtime.
mm,
It can be as mindless as that. I mean, I used to and probably still would fall back into like those like clicker games. Like, do you ever play like Cookie Clicker?
no,
Okay, well, they're
like
just like
Candy Crush.
no.
Okay,
It's like a game where you just like tap and you like accrue points and then you take those points and you put them into upgrades and then those upgrades help you get more points and sometimes it'll like auto tap for you. Whatever. But like it's so mindless,
yeah,
but like it can kill like 15 minutes before going to bed or something like that.
yeah. No, I know what you mean. I think it could be a curse with our generation the stimulation aspect of I do feel that there's a part of me that I kind of always need that stimulation of like being like doing something.
Mhm.
Um, and I, I mean, I love games. So like, I love playing games, whether it's, um, video games and then also like board games too. Like, and even my recent like diving into like board and card games has also shaped some of the games I play. Like some of these like deck builder games on mobile and on like I play on my laptop or some of these like deck builder roguelikes is like a genre like a very specific genre that I've gotten into and it all started with playing like a deck building board game um, and that has like also now dived into some of the video games I play.
Like Slay the Spire.
Yeah, Slay the Spire. There's another one called Across the Obelisk that's really fun, kind of in the same vein. Um, Monster Train is another one. It's really fun. Yeah, I mean, there's like a bunch of them. But yeah, it's like the same. It's kind of the same concept, but just in different, slightly different takes on it.
Yeah, no, I hear you 100%. Um, okay, so I think when you were answering that first question, I think you gave like a pretty good glimpse into, especially the earlier, you gave a couple of like an early on. I mean, I think you gave your very first gaming memory, which was getting handed the second controller that did nothing. Do you have
Yeah.
a favorite gaming memory that sticks out for you?
Um, it's a really good question. I think one of like I don't know, this one kind of popped into my head, and I think it's just more of like the, relational aspect of it. When I think this was probably like when I was like 13 or 14, um, and it was over the summer. Dad and I would like stay up late playing Mario Kart Double Dash,
Hmm.
and just we unlocked everything in that game. Like because you could do it in the multiplayer, you unlock everything in that mode. And I remember it would get to a point where one of us was like ahead in the tournament, and we would just be trying to sabotage the computer so that the other person could win,
Hmm.
so we could like unlock stuff. And that was just like fun because that's kind of the only time like Dad and I have really done that from a video game standpoint. So that's kind of like a memory that I think stands out to me the first time. And then I think another like just video game memory where I think I was just like in awe of like what video games were capable of was the first time I played Skyrim. That's like another very fond memory where I remember I like just rented it because I was like, I'm gonna rent it because I don't know if I'm gonna like this game.
Hmm.
And I remember just playing it like a whole weekend where I was at college. Like my roommates were going out, and I was like, nah, I'm just gonna stay and play this game because it was just so unlike anything I had played before, and just so well done and so immersive. And I just remember that like being a very fond memory too.
Isn't it so funny to kind of like piggyback off of the whole Skyrim thing? Because it was Skyrim for PS3, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure because it did release like 900 other times. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but isn't it so funny how can you think just to kind of go off of that? Can you think of a game from each generation that like specifically called out to you where it made you like stop and go like, holy shit, like look how amazing this is? Like, I guess with Skyrim, was it the visual aspect or was it simply like the sheer um size and like capabilities of the game that really like blew you away?
Yeah, I think for Skyrim, it was definitely more of just like the capabilities of within the game where, the conversational aspect,
Mm-hmm.
where, the character customization, the fact that if you're a Nord versus like, an elf, you would be like talked to differently.
Mm-hmm.
If you were like a sorcerer versus like I think the Nords were very like against magic for the most part. So you'd walk by a guard and you'd have like a spell in your hand and you'd be like, oh, careful with that magic. Watch what you're doing with that. And like just like that was like it was incredible to think of. And I think it was more of like, yeah, the sheer scope of that game was like, holy crap, what? This is possible. So yeah, I think that was really big. If I'm going back to like another generation, I'm trying to think like of a game on the GameCube that did that for me because I feel like that would be like the next jump. But it's tough to say, honestly.
Yeah,
Like
no,
a
that's
game that,
completely fair. Um,
yeah,
I feel like to go again to just compare to Skyrim, I feel like I had like a similar reaction with like Baldur's Gate. To
yeah. I mean,
to
that would
call it
be
a
this
recent
gen.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, um, yeah. That's. I mean, that game is unreal. I mean, that game takes what Skyrim does, and it's like a whole other level. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's not as much of the like if I look over there and I see a mountain, I can go climb it because that really isn't in Baldur's Gate. But that is more of like the interacting aspect of it and how it branches the story in different ways is like it's insane and how they have like all these different webs of how you can like progress through the game. Like that's a game that even though it's like a story and it's kind of a set story, I'm gonna play through several times just
Hmm.
because there's like so many different ways to experience it. Like, you and I have a playthrough that we started. If I have another friend who gets it and he wants to do a multiplayer playthrough, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it because then I can do different things. Um, I'm gonna try. I want to try playing through as like the different main characters that I liked, and play through their stories. Um, yeah, yeah, that's another game I think that when you play it, it's like holy crap. Um, the only other game that I can think of too, with like this generation that kind of piggybacking off that, was playing Hogwarts Legacy,
Okay.
and that I mean that might be a little more of like I mean that's the reason I got a PlayStation 5 pretty much. Um, I was like I had like just graduated with my master's degree, and I was like, well, I'm gonna treat myself, and so I was like, I'm gonna get a PlayStation 5, and but really it was because I really just wanted to play Hogwarts Legacy, and getting that and then playing that game, I was just like, this is unreal. But I
Hmm.
think that could also be some of like the Harry Potter fanboy, you know, coming out as well.
That definitely compounds with it, I think. But I mean, I just started playing it, and like I kind of am at times in awe of like the actual world that has been built, like from the ground up, the assets and everything is just like it's pretty stunning.
Yeah, and just being able to pick out some of these different areas of the castle. Like, there's times where I've played that game and I literally would just be like kind of walking around and just looking around and being like, this is unreal. Like,
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Okay, great. Is there a game or series that you can think of that you regret not having played it?
It's a good question. Um, Honestly, I don't really think there is. I think maybe like something like the Final Fantasy series or like the Dragon Quest series.
Hmm.
Just some of those like JRPG type games. They're definitely a genre that I've gotten a little more into now. And I think like trying to go back and play some of them, it's like really overwhelming to me. And I think some of it's too is like it's hard for me, I think, sometimes to go back and play older games that I'm not familiar with because I think now I'm so accustomed to playing a new game and it either being like equipped better because it's a newer style game
Hmm.
or it looking better because it's a newer game. And so, um, yeah, I think those are probably two that I'd say maybe, but I don't know. It's like I'm laying awake at night being like, damn, I wish I would have played Final Fantasy 7. Um, yeah, I don't know.
I get that.
I think,
Um,
yeah,
One, you can play Final Fantasy VII Remake on your PS5 and see those incredible visuals. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have played like bits and pieces of each of those series, right?
yeah. So I played the most recent Dragon Quest game was Dragon Quest I think 10, and I played through that. And that was really good. It was really fun. Very JRPG, but has a little bit more of like an open world type setting. I'm actually one of the games I'm currently playing through is Dragon Quest Monsters, which is like the monster collection version of Dragon Quest. I decided to try it out because I was like, well, I like Pokemon, so this is collecting monsters. Um, it's different conceptually, definitely more like grindy, which I think a lot of JRPGs can be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then as far as Final Fantasy goes, I did play like most recently Final Fantasy 13 on the PS3.
Okay.
So that one was good. I think at some point in that game, I got like stuck on a boss and just like couldn't beat him, and I think I just kind of was like, and got done with it. I never beat that game though.
Okay. All right. Um, what do you think gaming will look like in 10 years?
Oof, that's interesting. I mean, I think like one thing to like I think that's kind of exciting, but also I'm kind of hesitant on is some of the VR stuff. Um, VR when it first came out, I actually thought was like impressively polished. Like when the like PlayStation VR came out and I tried it for the first time, I was like wildly impressed with how polished it is.
Hmm.
And I have an Oculus now, and the games on that, while like a little more simple than your video game, are pretty like polished. I have a ping pong game where like it feels like I'm playing ping pong, and it's literally you just play ping pong, but it's fun and it's like it like reacts very like similar. Like I can put spin on the ball. It's it's really well done. Um, that being said, I did try out a cooking game on that, and I actually got motion sick playing a cooking game. Um, so I think like if video games take that turn, which I don't think it would like go fully like VR is like the main way you game. I always think that's going to be like a side, like kind of like an accessory type gaming style, or like a niche gaming style. I think the capabilities with that are. I'm interested to see where that goes and how that goes.
Sure.
Um, I think a lot of um, like these online games. I think that where you can play for free. I think that's obviously become a thing now, and I think is probably going to continue to become a thing. Um, I I don't know like what I can't imagine that it would have to be the same style of game. Like I can't imagine they're always going to be like shooter style games or some kind of like CCG like card collection game, which I think are probably two of the most popular iterations of that style of game. Um, I'd be interested to see like what the next big like online free game is that isn't like a shooter or um, like a card collection game. I guess there's like Roblox, but I haven't done that. I don't know what that is. But so I'm just gonna ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist.
That's
Because
fair.
I'm sure that's a different genre, and someone's gonna be like, "Well, you could do this in Roblox," and I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, but I don't do that, so it actually doesn't matter for me." In my world, it's not a real thing. Um, but yeah, I think like um, that's definitely going to be a thing. And then I guess like kind of piggybacking more off the VR is like how much more of your body can be immersed into a game. Like is there going to be like some kind of video game suit that you can like put on or
Interesting.
something, or some kind of like video game chair that's like fully encompassing? Um, yeah, I don't know. I think those are some ways that it could go, but I mean, I'm excited to see what happens next. I just hope like new stuff doesn't come out too quickly because um, you know I'll have to buy it.
I think you bring up a good point though. Basically, it seems like you just see it as like gaming companies are going to find ways to get to create to have gaming feel and be more immersive, whether it's not necessarily just through VR, but like what you're saying. I mean, there are people who are tying their mouse clicks to like uh, just some sort of mechanism that will just like punch forward, and they're using it to punch themselves in like the shoulder to have like gun recoil in real time to have that feeling. So people are freaks and also finding ways. So um, it does kind of seem like a logical next step.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right, last main question before we get into the rapid fire. If you could craft the perfect game, what would that look like to you?
Oof, that's a tough question. Man, um, it's so hard because I think like there's a lot of games that have come out that um like have kind of fit some of those needs. Like, so I think one of the ideas was like, oh, like an open world Harry Potter game would be so cool. Um, because like you get to like explore Hogwarts and like get to do all this, and then uh, Hogwarts Legacy came out. Um, Me personally, I would love if like Pokemon came out with a game that would have like built-in like difficulty structure in it. Um, I think that would be kind of awesome. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's not something I even thought to, and I don't really think I can give like a great answer. There's so many games that I think do so many good things and so many satisfying things that I don't really find myself like looking at my collection of games and being like, oh man, I wish I had this. And that's like not a great answer, but I don't really think I have anything for it.
No, that's I mean that's fair. I mean, if gaming has done a good enough job, then hopefully the perfect or ideal game already exists and you're not left dreaming. But I guess where I would go is to take the two games that um, have like shaped your gaming, which is Pokemon and NBA. What if there was a Pokemon basketball game where you drafted a team? The player pool is the original 151, 6 team league, and I don't know, there's some new Pokemon sport, uh, free agency, all that stuff. Are you in? Is that piquing your interest, or are you thinking that sounds like shit?
Um, I mean, like piquing my interest. Yeah. Do I trust the execution of it would be good? No, no, no. I don't think that would be good. I don't think it would be a good game. I think I would buy it, of course. Um, I would probably put like a lot of time into it and convince myself that it was really good. But no, I don't think that would be a good game. um, yeah, there's a lot of Pokemon that don't have arms. Yeah, I just don't know. A lot of snake Pokemon. I don't know how they
Hmm.
play basketball.
That's fair.
Um, yeah, there was a game that came out with Pokemon Dash that was literally just like Pokemon running. Um, that might be the closest they've gotten.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try and come up with a better crossover. Um,
What about like a Baldur's Gate with Pokemon version?
that
That I think would be sick.
that'd be pretty sick. Yeah, like a fully fleshed out like RPG with consequences and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that would be like if that came out, that would be insane. You could like kind of use your Pokemon as like your D&D party. Um, yeah, I mean that would be an incredible game. So I guess we kind of came up with it. Like if that came out and it was actually good, like now we're talking.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
All right. Well, that does it for the main questions. Are you ready for the rapid fire?
Not really, but I
Okay.
think I have to do them right.
Yeah. I mean, one, yes, you have to. You don't have a choice. Two,
Okay.
the idea is it's light, it's fun. Your answer, there's no right answers, there's no wrong answers. It's truly, I feel like the faster you're able to answer, the better it is as a whole, right? So just, don't overthink any of these questions. Um and yeah, if you're ready, we will start
All
now.
right, go for it.
All right. Best gaming generation.
Ooh, that would be the GameCube generation. So that's what, Gen 3? Gen
Okay.
2?
Worst gaming generation?
Probably 3.
Best game of all time.
See, I have such recency bias with this, so I'm gonna say Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay. All right. Worst game of all time?
There was like a movie. There was the dinosaur movie that came out for Pixar, and I had a Game Boy Color game that was based on that movie. That game was pretty bad. I'm pretty sure you like just walked around and had to like avoid bad dinosaurs while like collecting Ooh,
This is not rapid
that was
fire
a
at all.
that was a bad game. Um, okay, yeah,
All right. Is this the 100th episode of the podcast?
no,
Who would win in a fight, Arthur Morgan or Joel Miller?
Joel Miller,
Favorite console of all time?
GameCube,
Least favorite console of all time?
Wii U.
What is the best value in all of gaming?
Ooh, this is a weird question. Best value in all of gaming?
Yep.
I think I think it's your cell phone,
Okay. Favorite game series?
Pokemon.
Best gaming snack?
Mm. I'm gonna go with popcorn.
Who would win in a fight, Joel Miller or Arthur Morgan with a golf club?
Joel Miller.
Biggest gaming regret?
Um, but I didn't give more time to that dinosaur Game Boy Color game.
Fuck, Mary kill, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox.
Marry Nintendo. Fuck PlayStation. Kill Xbox.
Okay. Who sings the 2013 hit Radioactive?
Pass.
Have you played Immortals Phoenix Rising yet?
No.
If you could live in any video game world, what would it be?
The Pokemon world.
If you could play only one video game for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh. Recency bias. Baldur's Gate 3.
All right, all right. There are a few that I would like to go back and unpack.
Okay.
First, sorry, I have to find the what is the best value in all of gaming? You said your cell phone. Would you care to elaborate?
Yeah. So I mean, like, I think you have such like a powerful thing that I think a lot of people just take for granted. And there's like a huge, massive game library. It's very like I don't know. It's very like available, obviously, to a lot of people. And I think it's a great way for people to get introduced to games and
Mm-hmm.
gaming. And it's very accessible, obviously. I mean, everybody has a cell phone. And also, just for like, you know, you can watch people game on your phone. You know, there's Twitch. And I don't know. That was the hardest question to answer. So I don't know if I answered that well or if I understood the question correctly, but I don't know. This is the first thing that came to mind.
I
I was
mean,
thinking of like maybe more like undervalued, I think, but I don't know. I'll stick by it. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I stand by it. I'll die on that hill.
if we're being honest, that's just a setup and knock them down for it's supposed to be kind of like a jab at like, oh, Xbox Game Pass is the best value in all of gaming because you can get 3 months for $1 right now. I don't think that's still an offer. And like it's a
I got
service
you.
that like has a lot of games on it. It's kind of like what you're saying, right? Where like you have this huge library on your phone, and but really it's a matter of how you interpret the question. I honestly expected you after that slight pause to like for it to click and realize like, oh, Pokemon, like any of the Pokemon games, because you can the replayability and like you can go back and you can sync a ton of hours. So some people will say like $1 per hour played. So if you buy a game for $60, you hope to get at least 60 hours out of it or something like that. So it's all a matter of how you think about it. And there's really no right answer. So
Yeah. I think yeah, I'm gonna stick by my answer. I'm down that hill. I haven't gotten the PlayStation Portal yet. It's definitely like on my number one video game list of like something I want to get,
mhm.
and I feel like uh, that would probably be my answer if I really enjoy that.
That's yeah. Again, yeah, could yeah, literally anything could be the answer there. Best gaming snack. You said popcorn. Do you want to stick by that? I'll give you a chance to change it if you want.
Um, yeah, I guess what you're probably thinking is, you popcorn is a little bit messy, it can be buttery, it can be, you know, an adult now, so I don't need to have this like overly buttered popcorn. It's an easy snack. You can eat a lot of it, and it's not like terrible for you. So if it's like a gaming like sit down, especially if it's like an unsalted, unbuttered popcorn, I just love popcorn. I'm gonna stand by it. What's better?
No, I was just making sure you were comfortable with that answer and that you were good with having that on record.
Yeah, and that's like not my password for anything. So nice try.
All right. And then I think the last one that I really want to unpack here. You honestly think Joel Miller, given his past run-ins with golf clubs, could take Arthur Morgan?
Yeah, I think Joel is someone who probably learns from like all of his mistakes, and I think he's a lot more of a survivalist than Arthur Morgan. I mean, look, Joel like survived out there on his own with like a snotty little brat little teenager. So I mean, you know, I think Joel Miller is like one of the biggest badasses in all of video games. So
It's so funny.
yeah,
I know you're not terminally online. There has been a huge debate going around because Alan Wake just got added to a game, and then it like caused people to like to. I think you got added to Dead by Daylight, and then all of a sudden people started bringing up this conversation about like who would win in a fight, Joel from The Last of Us or Leon from Resident Evil, and it's just been really funny to watch. Everybody's got really good jokes for it, and almost nobody is saying Joel Miller.
that's incredible. I think he is certainly someone I would want in my corner if I was getting into a fight. I know he's not like the strongest, he's not like the fastest, but man, that guy, he would take hits, man. And yeah, I stand by that choice.
I
I think
love it.
it's easy, an easy choice.
I love it. You know, it's always interesting. I don't think that question, since we've like changed it to try and like trip people, I don't think it's tripped anybody up just yet. I think people have every single time stuck with their answer, regardless of who they said in the first one. Um, it didn't matter. So
Wait,
um,
so if I would have said Arthur Morgan, would you have given the golf club to Joel Miller?
no, if you choose Arthur, it's who would win in a fight, Joel Miller or Arthur Morgan with tuberculosis. So it's either Arthur gets a buff or Arthur gets a
Off, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I see. That's good.
And it makes me laugh every time just thinking about it.
Yeah, I think that tuberculosis is a much bigger debuff than the golf club is a buff.
yeah, probably, probably. Um, all right, well, that's it. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this with me, especially in a pinch. Um, is there anything you would like to plug for yourself?
Um, no, I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm not really like I don't really have much of like a social media presence. Don't really plan on it anytime soon. Um, there's really no financial benefit that I can get out of talking to all of your millions of listeners. So
No, I mean it's a 2 minute soapbox. You could have said anything, but you know, I'm just glad you didn't go on one of your normal racist tirades. So, thank you so much
great.
for joining and for doing this. This was a blast. This was a lot of fun. Uh, and yeah, to
Yeah,
everybody
thanks for having me.
listening. Oh, that was on me. That was
I
too
just hit
long
the
of a
button.
pause.
Oh, now this is also on.
You.
What were you saying?
To anybody listening, if you could give us a rating or a review wherever you do listen, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you could share this podcast with a friend, that would also be greatly appreciated. Hopefully, Mike's power is restored, and we will have our normal episode for you next week. If his power isn't restored, then you might be getting another
I can
journey
throw.
into games.
I can throw my voice.
Okay. All right, I'll give you the potential weekly topics, and you can be the special guest co-host. Jesus, that was tough for me to say.
Because you
Yeah,
don't want it to happen.
yes, yeah, no, exactly. 2 weeks in a row without Mike would be too much. So, but yeah, thank you so much for listening, and talk to you next week.